is consideration of Jefferson County Public Schools' request to approve its innovation application on behalf of Free Horizon Montessori. I ask that we have a brief presentation before I take a motion. Commissioner?
Yes, thank you. We'll turn this over to Bill Cottonsteady to just give us a brief overview of the agenda item, and then we'll have Jeffco come and give a presentation.
All right, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you for
Again.
Schools of Choice's last agenda item of the month. Yay. In your packets, you'll find information related to the Innovation School application from Jeffco Public Schools on behalf of Free Horizon Montessori. The school has been approved by Jefferson County Public Schools for innovation status. The school's innovation plan seeks waivers from state statutes as outlined in the memo. Most of these are customary waiver requests that we see in many innovation or charter school applications. As requested by the board, we provide additional analysis on educator evaluation and licensure waiver requests. These analyses are provided as 2 of your attachments. Currently, Jeffco does not have any schools operating under innovation status. It is the practice of the state that when a district submits an innovation application for the first time, they're asked to make a presentation to the state board. With that in mind, I'd like to introduce 3 representatives who are here to present to you about Jeffco's innovation application and to answer any questions that you may have. They have a couple other guests with them that if they have technical questions that need answered will also be available. I'll first introduce Karen Klonbeck. Karen is the Chief of Schools for Elementary and Charter Schools for Jeffco Public Schools. Next is Tim Matlick, and Tim serves as an Achievement Director for Jeffco Public Schools and with Free Horizon as one of the Free Horizon is one of the schools that he works with. And finally, I'd like to introduce Cresta Vuolo. Cresta serves as the head of school for Free Horizon Montessori. We, as CDE, are available to answer any questions that you may have. With that in mind, I'd like to hand off the presentation to our representatives from Jeffco.
Thank you. And these are on automatically?
I think we got you under control.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to present today and share with you our request to be a district of innovation. We believe this is a new opportunity for Jeffco as a district, beginning with Free Horizon becoming an option school with innovation status. Our why, as well as our goals, align well with the components of the statute. The innovation plan presented is fiscally feasible, and we believe it will enhance educational opportunities for all students. A true Montessori model requires waivers from policy, which you'll hear more about, especially in terms of the instructional model, the staffing model, time, and licensure. We are also excited to embrace a more site-based operation governance model. It's an innovation in that we are partnering with their board to have a more active role in the day-to-day operation of the school. Thank you. It's been a very collaborative process from the beginning as we explored the question of innovation status together. And we really believe it's been a win-win situation for the school and the district. At any point, either party could and continue to have that ability to simply walk away from it. And a third win has been for our Pleasant View community, who will get another option, a new instructional model with a school with stable enrollment back in their neighborhood. As we explored innovation, our role has been to host multiple meetings to get people together to talk through what's possible and how we may need to revise and even build new systems and structures to meet the needs of an innovation school within our district. So then the question really becomes why for Jeffco? Why is Jeffco interested in becoming a district of innovation? And as I've alluded to already, it really began as a question specific to Free Horizon. Could this enhance educational opportunities for students? And the answer we found was yes, as we considered Free Horizon shifting to an option for kids who could include kids of poverty who would now have the option to walk to the school as opposed to not having transportation. We also believe it's fiscally feasible because the facilities costs are reduced, and this frees up resources and creates efficiencies. Cresta will speak to both of those things in a little bit later. As a district, we began to think about opportunities that could be created through innovation status for other schools. And at this point, there's simply ideas or concepts, but we really want to explore every option or tool to increase student achievement and provide exceptional educational experiences for all of our kids. We believe we could need more flexibility in order to provide different instructional models, and I'm going to connect that to kind of our why and our strategic plan in just a minute. And we believe that we might want to do this through flexibility with time, personnel, budget, for example. More than anything, we really want to shine a light on innovation in our district and encourage our schools. We have a lot of schools in Jeffco. We want to encourage them to consider this as an option moving forward. So then connecting it to our strategic plan, and we are very grateful for the leadership of Dr. Jason Glass and the work that we've navigated over the last year. As a district, we are inherently focused on the core of our work. It's all about learning. We're paying careful attention to what it is that students are doing in classrooms. We're paying careful attention to their learning experiences, their actual, authentic, engaging learning. That's what our plan is all about. And we really want to encourage our schools to think creatively and innovatively about different kinds of models. So I'll pause on that district piece because today it's really about Free Horizon as we enter down this path.
So before we developed the full innovation plan, we had conversations with all of our stakeholders. We held a full community meeting, including our parents and staff members, in order to explore their appetite for the possibility of becoming an option school within Jeffco with innovation status. We also engaged our board of directors and our accountability committee because we knew that this would be a great undertaking and wanted to make sure we had the support of our community before embarking on that work. And I also referred back to the original chartering documents from the very first steering committee who founded Free Horizon Montessori. And what they really stated was their desire to expand learning options to all children within Jeffco and make the Montessori model specifically available to more children. And this pathway allows all of that to happen. And what we found through all of that process was an overwhelming support from all of the different stakeholder groups in order to pursue this work. So we did. We went down the path of developing the innovation plan, and that process itself was also quite collaborative with input from the stakeholder groups. And so as a part of that process, after the innovation plan was developed, we then took votes of our community stakeholders in order to make sure that the work we had done on developing that innovation plan was consistent with our mission, our vision, the values, us as a community, and what we are as a school. And what we found was that there was overall support for the innovation plan that you have before you. Our board of directors voted 7-0 in favor, and the accountability committee was also 100% on board. The parent community, there were 4% who said they were indifferent, 96% were in favor, and not a single vote against. Our teachers, 88% were in favor, 4 opposed, and while 8% did not vote and 16% of the general staff members didn't vote, many of them anecdotally stated that they didn't vote because their work with children would not change under either model. They were going to be doing their work every day in the classroom in the same way, regardless of whether we were a charter school or an option school of innovation. And so that's why we have continued down this path. So taking a look at the plan, it is built on our current model. We have been in operation since 2002, and we do our model very well. And so what we're not changing as much, really. We're wanting to make sure that we are expanding opportunities for students and staff. The overall daily educational delivery won't change other than additional resources that are then available to be directed toward program instead of through the operating costs of a facility. It will also allow us to continue to administer the Montessori model, including our Montessori credential teachers, and it provides continuity in our governance and oversight. However, we also get expanded services from the district, including food that's prepared daily on site instead of a catered model. That's pretty amazing. We get to be located in a community, a neighborhood, instead of an office park where we're currently located, which is where schools should be. That's where the heart of a neighborhood is the school, and we're excited to have that opportunity. There's additional economies of scale as well by coming under the district that overall benefits the children in our school, the staff in our school, and most importantly, the children of Jefferson County Public Schools. When we looked at the state waivers, we started with the same ones we have as a charter school, and what we found were that there were some 3 that were no longer applicable if we transition, so it's fewer waivers than we actually already have in place right now. And as we go through our governance and operation agreement development, we will be looking at the district waivers that we have in place because we anticipate that some of those are also no longer going to be applicable. So under the changes to an innovation school, the budget will change slightly. We'll be going under the district's modified student-based budgeting model. We will have enhanced district services available to our students and staff. For example, our staff, under the benefits model of the district, will have a 22% increase in their employer contribution toward healthcare. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. We'll be able to grow in size as well and reach more families starting at the early childhood level, since we begin enrollment at age 3 all the way up through 8th grade. So we will be able to expand our enrollment and expand the opportunities for families that live within the community to attend. We already talked about the lunch program, and it will allow us to continue in many of the same ways, but in more enhanced and efficient ways, I think.
So really, due to the time constraints, because I'll be very blunt, we navigated this process fast. We did it. We initially thought about trying to spread it out over the course of a year, and given some of the staffing and decisions that needed to be made, we decided to really compact it and make it happen within a few months. So because of that, we really pursued a 2-step model. We're very fortunate, and hopefully you're hearing in our presentation, we have a very collaborative, trusting relationship, but we also want to be thoughtful about how can we build this out so that long term, as people change, as ideas change, we still have a process and systems in place that really take care of everyone. So while working on finalizing the innovation plan, we also work towards identifying items for inclusion in the governance and the operations agreement, which would replace the charter contract. The Jeffco Board of Education approved the innovation plan on May 4th, and both Free Horizon and Jeffco entered into an MOU for our work moving forward. Some key components of the conversion process included addressing the items that are listed on the slide. We've been working on details for the governance agreement and have reached a conceptual agreement in every area we've addressed so far. And again, I think that really speaks to the trust and the collaboration that we have. If and when the State Board of Education approves the innovation plan, we will work on drafting and finalizing the governance agreement, implement the software infrastructure to build out support for innovation based on HR, payroll, and financials, and transition plans for our staff to move from charter to district employees. We're really excited to have this opportunity, and we'll now open it up for questions.
Thank you. Before we discuss this, could I have a motion, please?
I move to affirm Jefferson County Public Schools as a district of innovation. It's flickering, but it's on. I'll try again.
I can hear you much better now.
Okay. I move to affirm Jefferson County Public Schools as a district of innovation by approving the innovation school application for Free Horizon Montessori.
Thank you. Second? All right, discussion, questions, comments? Board Member Durham.
Thank you. Mr. Scott said is a governance agreement between an innovation school and the district common? I don't think I've ever heard of them. It's just something that's not come to our attention.
I can't think of one offhand, but I do know that at times schools will present innovation plans where they talk about semi-autonomous governing entities that make decisions for the school. Whether or not that's specified in a governance agreement, we typically wouldn't see that in the plan. In this situation, it wasn't something that would be included in the innovation plan, but that might be happening within a district process.
So let me ask the principal, say that you don't have a completed agreement. are in the completed agreement that you contemplate, are you going to have anything that is legally enforceable against the district if they violate some of the terms? And if so, what would that enforcement mechanism be?
So my understanding as we're working through this process is that we are looking at language that there is accountability and enforceability on both sides in order to protect both entities. As an existing school that's been around for 16 years, that is a primary concern of ours, to assure that we can continue to operate within our Montessori model. And I think that we do have an attorney representing our interests involved in this process as well, who is separate from the attorney that represents the district's interests. So we're entering into this with our eyes open and trying to anticipate not just now when things are going well and we have a collaborative relationship, but you make policy and agreements based on decision making when things aren't going well. So that's kind of what we're trying to anticipate with that. So while it isn't drafted, there is a desire to make sure that our interests are absolutely protected, as are the districts, within the context of what's legally allowable.
So you will not surrender your charter until you have this agreement in place, is that correct?
That is correct.
I think that's an important, it's the old trust but verify concept.
Absolutely.
That I think you would be well advised to, and your attorneys would be well advised to make sure they have enforcement mechanisms embedded in this agreement for your benefit. So in this governance agreement, what areas of autonomy do you contemplate being able to maintain and enforce?
We are basing this governance agreement on our current charter agreement, actually. And so we are anticipating maintaining autonomy, and some of this is addressed within the innovation plan as well, for things like curriculum, our staffing model, our salary scales, because, for instance, we provide additional compensation for our teachers who hold a Montessori credential from an accredited program, because that's important to us as a school. So we would like for those things to be able to continue for our staff, because it benefits the students as well. So all of the things that are currently in place in our charter agreement, we plan to address in one way or another within that governance agreement as well.
And what's the time frame for getting this signed?
We've already begun the work on that in terms of developing the outline of what needs to be encompassed in there, and we have come to agreement on most of the terms that are in there. Our expectation is that the agreement is in place on or before October 1st with a retroactive effective date to July 1st to correspond with the fiscal year, if we reach that agreement.
Did you have a comment, Mr. Malik?
So one of the things that was really important is that
And your position is?
I'm the achievement director. I'm the one that supports all the charter schools
Okay, thank
in
you.
Jefferson County. So one of the things that was really important to both the school as well as the district was to recognize the fact that Free Horizon is a high-functioning charter school. They've been in the district a long time. They've done a great job with their kids. And so one of the agreements, you saw two different things in the presentation. One is the clause that says that either party can walk away from this, no harm done, and everything remains exactly as it is right now. The other piece is
At what point in time can they walk away?
at any point until the governance agreement is signed.
Okay.
And then once the governance agreement is signed, we have a clause, we're planning to build in a clause that says that if either party decides that this is not working, whether that's a year or 10 years from now, then they would revert back to a charter school. They have 2 years to do that. And so basically it's a reset clause that says everything was working great ahead of time. We're gonna try this. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we reset to where we were, and then we just move forward from that point on.
Thank you.
Board Member Goff?
Did I hear and read correctly that the move will be into Pleasant View?
Yes, correct, into the old Pleasant View building.
Right. Was there any remodeling? Were there any facility needs, capital improvement? And has that been done? And just what was the short line process on that, as far as getting the money approved in the middle of budget development anyway, so.
So It's a great question. A lot of moving parts, and so some of the work that was designed to be done, if it were to remain a traditional school building, doesn't need to be done for a Montessori school. For instance, you don't need closets in Montessori classrooms. It's a different design, and so we have one piece there. The other piece is they're doing walkthroughs right now as we look at the building to say how do we bring the building back online. We've had the tech infrastructure in there, looking at the Wi-Fi, looking at connectivity. A change will be the support that the school gets in all the technology pieces. And so instead of being outside the district systems, they will be inside the district systems. And so part of the work is trying to figure out how to make their hardware that they have in the building work with the district infrastructure as we transition to complete district processes down the road. So the building, looking at how to do the work that needs to be done to get them in the building during a summer when it's a lot of work happens in 165 buildings. So not there yet, but we're meeting on a regular basis, about twice a week right now, to try and figure out how to do this.
And opening is this fall? Or
That's correct. And some of that work we know that we will be doing on our own, and there are some things that will need to be phased in over time, and we recognize that, understanding as well that part of the ability of converting to an option school with innovative status means that instead of our facility being paid for out of our operating dollars, many of those resources will now be available to redirect in other areas. So we would have additional resources to help partner with the district. So we know what we have heard from the facilities department is that we would go into the queue along with everybody else, and the district has a ranking system for identifying priority based on, say, Foreman Drive first of all, and then they have different tiers, and we would be in the queue along with all of the other district schools, and wherever that ranking came up for the different things that would need to be addressed. Yes, there are some things in that facility that will need to be addressed over time. I do know, for instance, there was a really large hailstorm in the Golden area about a year ago, and so the building just got a new roof. And so that work is happening as we speak. So there are some things that are being done just as a matter of the district's ongoing regular maintenance of an asset that they have, and then there are other things that we will be working toward in order to make it meet our educational needs as a Montessori program as well.
Great. Really, one other quick thing on the, you don't need to bring it back up, the slide that had the approval, the consensus approval group, your 7-member board is the school's
That's correct.
governance body, right?
That is
It's not-
correct.
the district school board shows its support through the resolution, so I just wanted to make sure I was square on that. And then lastly, for today, your teacher's status, as far as licensure and so forth, has there been any increase in the number of your staff? I assume the primary part of them, the big part, will be coming along.
Mm-hmm.
There won't be any changes. But has that changed any status as far as licensure versus not licensed, or people showing interest in full licensure changes and such as that?
Well, as a charter school, we've had a waiver in place that we don't require full teacher licensure. Right. Interestingly enough, 86% of our teachers this year are fully licensed teachers in addition to their Montessori credentials, which Montessori credentials are recognized in 12 different states as full teacher preparation programs, and just not in Colorado yet. We're hopeful that someday we'll get there. But we have many, many teachers in our building who hold both a Montessori credential as well as their Colorado State teaching license.
Yes.
And we value both.
Thank you.
Board Member Flores?
So you'll be what's the word? You'll be employing more teachers because you'll have middle school. So will that be easy to find within this short, limited time to find Montessori teachers?
So we've been in operation as a preschool through 8th grade model for the last, I believe it's 6 years.
Okay.
And so, but we are growing, and the move to the new facility allows us to add this current school year in 18-19, we are planning to open an additional early childhood classroom and an additional lower elementary classroom serving for 2nd and 3rd graders. And then the following year, as those students continue to move up,
Sure.
we anticipate opening another 4th and 5th classroom. We are adjusting to a 6, 7, 8 middle school model along with Jeffco this fall.
finding trained Montessori teachers and licensed Montessori teachers will not be a problem for you?
At this point, no, and we have within our professional development line item, we have the ability to help support teachers in securing that as well.
Thank you.
Board Member Rankin?
How many students are in the school currently, and how many do you anticipate?
Yes, so we currently have 425 students, which came out to, I believe it's 323 FTE or 326 FTE this past school year, because obviously our early childhood children don't count in those FTE numbers for funding. We anticipate having approximately 450 students in the building this coming fall.
Would you repeat that again, the first number you said?
So 425 this year total students, and 450 next year total students.
And how many FTEs?
326, I believe. Because we have so many 3- and 4-year-olds, and remember, kindergartners don't count
Don't
as
count.
full humans in the FTE funding.
Six.
Or should count as 2, considering the attention they require.
Didn't mean it to be. It's true.
Tell me a little bit about how your school board is chosen, elected, appointed.
Sure,
What's
they're
the process?
Yeah, they are elected. They can self-nominate or be nominated, and they do have to pass a background check in order to run. And there are 7 members of our board. Their current bylaws allow for up to 2 of those to be general community members not within our school, so typically they are parents within our school. We've been very lucky to have retired principals from Jeffco, wider community members that aren't affiliated with our school. There's a great benefit in having outside perspectives serve on our board, so it's a 7-member board. They typically serve a 3-year term, and all of the every parent or guardian of a student in the school has 1 vote per open seat, and then each of our staff members have a vote as well in the board election processes.
And that has worked well. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time.
Very well. We have a fully seated board. We do.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Would you call the vote, please? Thank you.
Board Member Durham?
Yes.
Board Member Flores?
Yes.
Board Member Goff?
Yes.
Board Member McClellan?
Yes.
Board Member Rankin?
Yes.
Board Member Shuffle?
Yes.
Board Member Schroeder?
Yes.
Thank you. That passes unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. You'll be busy this summer.
Yes.
See y'all
Thank
later.
you.
Yeah.
This is it for you for today, until August? Oh, no. We'll have to find something.
They wanted to get through the first
The next item on our agenda is consideration of the teacher grants for computer science education grant awards. Well, I'll let these folks get out. No. Stop hitting things. Dr. Cobb. Fine, how are you?
No wonder they're so.
I'm surprised to see you live after yesterday. But I'm happy to see you alive.
Still here?
With a big smile on your face, that's just wonderful. So I ask that staff give a brief presentation before I take a motion. Commissioner?
Yes, I'm just gonna turn it over to Dr. Cobb.
So, Dr. Cobb, let me just, on a personal note,
Yes.
I got a text yesterday from my daughter
Yes.
asking about, I think, this grant.
Okay.
So hit me with it, please, because I'm pretty sure that Boulder Valley did not apply for this grant.
Correct. We don't have any information from them. Correct.
That's her problem. Okay, thank you. Well, you know, I look at.
That's called nepotism.
Sure. I always look at, what's the publication you put out all the time that goes to
The
school?
Scoop?
Scoop, which I like a lot.
Yes.
But I kind of wonder how many people actually have time. I don't always have time to read it, to go through and read the whole thing, and I can't quite figure out for whom it is. But that's where most of your information for school district resides, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that will be my message to her. Just
Okay.
read the Scoop, please.
Well,
Sorry
we have
for the
another
diversion.
process. We hopefully will have another process coming up where they'll get an opportunity to apply. So.
And I'll hope I don't have to abstain.
All right, well, we're here this afternoon for two items to ask for your vote for the additional grant funds for the teacher grants for computer science education program, as well as to notice rulemaking, ask for your vote to notice rulemaking for the same. This program is part of Senate Bill 1729, and its purpose really was to allow for funds for teachers to pursue courses and certificates and degrees in computer science, and CDE was allocated $500,000 for this particular program. And in April, you all were voted on the first round and distributed $287,000 to school districts across the state. And as a result of not having all of the funds being spent, we asked for emergency rules to be created, and you voted and approved those. And so now we're back today for the second round of this process. And so you should have a sheet in your packet that looks something similar to this. And I guess we'll stop right here for the end of the first part of it and ask to see if there's any questions that you might have.
Do I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the recommendations for the additional grant awards for the teacher grants for computer science education program.
It's a proper motion. Do I have a second? Thank you. Everybody.
Yeah, we're still all in this together. Been in this together since January.
Questions? So are these districts ones that had already applied and they just were able to get more? Are they different ones?
So
Just
we
identify the process, please.
We had a combination. We had 4 additional school districts who applied. Those were Jefferson County, Thompson, Ouray, and Douglas County. And then we had some additional ones who either applied up, didn't apply to the $10,000 threshold, and we had actually 7 more who applied beyond it. So in total, we had 32 school districts who participated in the program this year, and I believe about 25 of them were considered to be rural districts.
Good, that was gonna be another one of my questions. That's great. When they applied, does the school district identify X number of individuals who have expressed an interest in this, and it's on that basis that the dollar amount? I mean, I'm comparing Jeffco to a rural school district, and I'm trying to figure out how do we ensure, is it based on the number of teachers in each district, the need that's identified?
It's really a combination of the two, and the way in which they chose they chose to actually address the professional development. So in certain cases where a district like Denver Public Schools decided that they were going to manage the professional development in-house, and that was how they were going to go about addressing the problem, it would be a little bit different than for some school district that might pursue professional development from School of Mines for university. So the actual cost in terms of how much they were seeking was really dependent upon how they were going about in choosing to use the funds. But throughout the grant process, we were close to paying attention to that, because that was a question that we wanted to attend to.
It doesn't matter to us whether we have teachers seeking certain credentials or districts trying to do, a district-wide PD that really isn't at quite the same level as a computer science credential.
It's the legislation allows for some flexibility with that regard. I think what we will have to be able to do is once they begin to report back, we'll be able to get some additional information to really see what the benefit was, and how, whether or not there was any discrepancy between those two particular experiences.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Board Member Rankin?
Mr. Caban, let's see, this was $150,000 we just spent for the
Correct.
second round. How much did you spend for the first one?
287.
So we still have some money left.
Those additional funds were available for administrative costs and staff and support and those types of
So we've
things.
spent it all, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so my next question is, and maybe it's part of the rulemaking, I'm not quite sure, because this is a first go-around. Do we have a way of accountability for this to see what the improvements are, because the teachers are trained now in computer science to a degree?
Well, I would say yes. There's a legislative report that we certainly have to be able to produce prior to January 1st, which is part of this process. And as the grant recipients continue to, we'll need to report out on exactly what they're doing. So there is a form of accountability that we'll be able to provide you with feedback and information on from there.
Could we, or do we, tie that to Ms. Pearson's evaluations of the school district?
Sure, she loves it. You mean the performance frameworks?
Yes.
What do you, okay.
Yes.
Right.
I should have used the right terminology.
Well, no,
so.
I'm just sure that
District
Ms. Pearson
performance.
wants to be known as the person who's holding every school district, Ms. Pearson's evaluation of the, sorry, but, we're at the end of the second day, so. Yeah, so I don't know that this would probably not be connected to our accountability
No.
system in any way, because our accountability system is outlined in law
I guess
and very
performance
specific.
frameworks is the word. Yeah.
But those are pretty defined in law,
Okay. I'm just thinking that this is so new, but computer science is so new. Is there some way we can track what programs are successful in what the intention of the legislature was to give us this money? And if so, I kind of like the idea of sharing that among the other people that keep applying as to what's working.
So I recall that this was something, in fact, during the initial rulemaking process that was of interest to you, and there's actually a section of rule that requests that districts provide the expected impact on student achievement, so that will be part of their reporting process to us.
Thank you.
So student achievement and maybe just a little report on what they did, extra things, maybe more students were helped than expected, and all that are good things for
Absolutely.
grants.
I'm kind of struck by $14,000 for St. Vrain when they had a $5 million computer grant. I'm trying to figure out, that
5 million?
made me kind of shudder a little bit. Is it a completely different piece than the rollout of their computer grant, that federal grant they had?
I wouldn't be able to speak to what they're doing in terms of their computer grant. That was one that actually stood out for me as well. And St. Vrain was actually a school district who decided to use the Colorado School of Mines Summer Professional Development Workshop. And so
it's a credential effort.
Yeah, and so in terms of the cost that would be associated with the type of work that they were doing for computer science, the price point was likely going to be a little bit
Right,
higher.
and they probably could not use that other grant for those kinds of purposes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Interesting. So it'll be interesting for us to see the different ways that districts seek this funding.
Correct.
Thank you. Board Member Goff?
I remember us talking about this. There were a couple of districts on here. Another one was Adams 12, which has had a hefty influx of technology and STEM geared dollars. But we also talked one time, I believe it was these computer science experiences, I must better say, that to share them among districts, in the whole big picture of what are some things that are not only going on, but how our district's approaching them, and what basically the basic stuff, which programs, which resources, what do they look like, what do we think about it, how can other districts, regardless of size, try to see what they can do about getting folks in. It's all part of the share the word thing that I hope we all continue to work on.
Any more questions? Call a vote, please.
Board Member Durham?
Yes.
Board Member Flores?
Yes.
Board Member Goff?
Yes.
Board Member McClellan?
Yes.
Board Member Rankin?
Yes.
Board Member Shuffle?
Yes.
Board Member Schroeder?
Yes.
Thank you. That passes unanimously.
Next item on our agenda is a notice of rulemaking for the rules for the teacher grants for computer science education program. 1 CCR 301-100. I ask that staff give a brief presentation before I take a motion. Commissioner.
Back to Dr. Cobb.
All right, so we're here for the second round to just ask for you to take a vote to notice rulemaking for the teacher grants for computer science and education program. As I mentioned briefly before, in April, you all voted to approve emergency rules to allow for the additional funds to be able to be expended. And so with emergency rules having an expiration date, we're back here to ask to notice rulemaking to allow for perhaps a rulemaking hearing, for a rulemaking hearing to take place in August or September if necessary.
Thank you. Can we actually go 2 months? More than 2 months?
This is standard. If we had a July meeting. we
No,
wouldn't.
but the lack of a meeting changes the overall time.
No, it's
No.
more of if there's not a unanimous vote in August, that we would need to come back in September.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard your question.
Is that what you were?
No, I just thought we only had 60 days from the notice of,
The way, I believe it's 90 days and the 30 days, but the way it always falls a week before that following month's board meeting. And so, or, I'm sorry, a week after the following month's board meeting, so it's typically 2 months out that we have the hearing.
I'm sure I'll ask that question another 15 times.
No problem. That one I can
Do I
answer.
have a
Well,
motion,
then I
please?
had it.
It's 8.03.
Can somebody make a motion?
I can do it. I move to approve the notice of rulemaking for the rules of teacher grants for computer science education program 1 CCR 301-100.
It's a proper motion. Do I have a second? Goff?
I got 2 copies.
Any questions, conversations? We've already got
Oops.
emergency rules and we're just gonna. Are you two ready to vote over there?
Sure.
Call
As soon as
vote.
we find our place.
Yes.
Should we wait a second?
But we'll find it.
8.02.
You ready to vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Board Member Durham.
Yes.
Board Member Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Goff.
Yes.
Board Member McClellan.
Yes.
Board Member Rankin.
Yes.
Board Member Shuffle.
Yes.
Board Member Schroeder.
Yes,
Thank you. That passes unanimously.
thank you. The last item on our agenda today is notice of rulemaking for the rules for the Colorado English Language Proficiency Act in 1 CCR 301-10. I ask that staff give a brief presentation before I take a motion. Commissioner?
Yes, thank you. This was one of those technical fixes that we mentioned to you a few sessions ago. And so Jennifer Oakes and Melissa Colsman are here to give us an overview.
So as you recall from earlier, before lunch, Jennifer Mello was here and gave an update on some of the legislation. So one piece of legislation as part of the School Finance Act was a technical fix to the ELPA statute. And so you might recall back, I believe it was in December, during our JBC hearing, a question came up about the ELPA funds. And so during this current fiscal year, for the 17-18 year, we had to revert about $380,000 because of this technical issue, based upon the number of students who are eligible for ELPA funding, and then the statutory requirements about the per pupil funding restrictions. So we had to revert about $380,000. As a result of that, Case and CASB worked to get this amendment into the School Finance Act, and basically it was to prevent that type of further reversion for next year or future years.
These are federal funds?
This is state funds.
State fund, thank
Yep, and it's one of the categorical programs as part of the categorical funding request that we do each year. And so without this legislative change, there would have been a reversion of almost $1.5 million next year. So it became significant. But it was included in the School Finance Act. So these rules are simply to make this notice of proposed rulemaking is to align our rules with the statutory language. And basically what it does is, historically, the funds that are appropriated are split. 75% of those funds goes to students who are NEP and LEP, so non-English proficient or limited English proficient, and 25% goes to those who are in the monitor category. So instead of a 75-25 split, the language now says it's proportionally allocated based upon the number of students who are eligible for funding. This year, for next fiscal year, upcoming fiscal year, that's a 92-8 split. But it would change every year. We'd just recalculate that simple calculation based upon the number of students each year. And so this rulemaking is to align our rules to that statutory language. And then if you do approve these rules in the August board meeting, then we would also have a corresponding agenda item at that time to distribute the funding based upon the new rules in the statute. So, any questions?
Thank you. Do I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the notice of rulemaking for the rules of the Colorado English Language Proficiency Act 1 CCR 301-10.
Thank you. That's a proper motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Great. Call the roll, please.
Board Member Durham.
Yes.
Board Member Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Goff.
Yes.
Board Member McClellan.
Yes.
Board Member Rankin.
Yes.
Board Member Shuffle.
Yes.
Board Member Schroeder.
Yes.
Thank you. That passes
Thank you.
unanimously.
Thank you. So our final item would be for us to consider any future business at this time. I just thought I would share with you a guess of what we will be talking about in August, so you can be mentally prepared. We will be looking at the CMAS state level results. We'll continue our strategic budget discussion that we had before lunch. Please bring your questions or send your questions, your thoughts about next year's budget. We have a research request coming from the Colorado Department of Human Services. The rulemaking that we just approved will come forward. We will have a recognition for Congressional District Student Artist Competition. Maybe we'll have proposed dates for next year's board meetings. We'll probably also be talking about choosing the exam for the new middle level math endorsement. Anything else you guys want to have brought forward for the agenda? Board Member Flores?
Could we all do the agenda, at least the dates for the agenda? Meaning, you usually do it, so could more of us be included as to the dates?
It's the role of the chair and the vice chair to set the agenda, and then we send it out, and we are asking right now if you have items that you'd like to have put on the agenda.
Right, but I'm just asking if we could just be a little bit more democratic and just maybe discuss it for about 15 minutes or so when we're all together.
That would be right now.
Well, I don't have my calendar. I didn't know you were going to bring this up.
So I'm always open to any recommendations.
Board Member Flores, are you asking to be able to include input for the 2019 board meeting dates or items on the agenda?
Well, yeah, the dates for the
Board
for
meetings.
the year.
Yeah. So typically those are the second Wednesday and Thursday of every month. This year we pushed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. This year we pushed August back a week for the CMAS state level results release, but otherwise it's.
It's always the same, or.
And you'll have that prepared for us in August.
Okay.
Yes, we'll have as an information item and then action in September.
Great.
And for December, have you guys decided as to whether we're going to have the meeting earlier
I
in
am
December?
thrilled that we have decided for July.
I'm sorry?
I am thrilled that we have decided for July to not have a meeting. I mean, I think our goal,
Well, you were
Val,
the one that
is-
brought it up about December and all the work that the CDE had to have in December, and you thought about possibly not having it, I remember.
Correct.
Or having it earlier in the month instead of later in the month. And those were the dates that I thought you might want to share with us before you made the decision as to when you wanted to take it.
We can't change the date.
And the
We
board.
can't go to the first week.
before.
We can't
And
go to
you'll
the first
have
week
an-
because of 2 conferences.
We've already done it for August.
And you'll have an opportunity to look at the board meeting dates before you vote on them, so
Okay.
you'll have
Oh,
almost
good.
2
We'll
months
vote on
Yeah.
it.
to look at
Yeah,
that
we'll vote on
information.
it.
Thank you.
Mr. Durham, did you have an agenda item or a question or comment?
No, something I just think probably that I should comment on, Madam Chair, and it's relative to Dr. Flores' comment about her time limitation somehow being based on race, and I think the remark that was directed at the chair, which I think was unfair, Dr. Flores, and I think it's a difficult subject because I'm known to be much more patient than Dr. Schroeder, but her lack of patience probably is not due to that particular failing. It's probably due to something else, but I do think that was unfair, and I don't mean to be overly critical because I know tempers can be, and not that I've ever lost mine here, but tempers can flare. But I think that's a kind of a charge that is.
No, when she looks at me like that,
Well,
when I lift my hand like this, and then somebody else has not even lifted their hand, and I have been like this for a long time, and she calls somebody else, and when, excuse me if I say this, you take 35 minutes on something when you should have taken 10 minutes, and I take 3 minutes, and maybe she wants me to not say anything at all. I think that I am being treated unfairly. And I look at myself and I say, is she maybe prejudiced because I am a male? I'm not a male. Is she prejudiced because I am a female and maybe a woman of color? Is it because I might have a slight accent? Is it because I speak much more slowly than the rest of you do, or some of you? And I think about this, and then it's just all the little indignities that, I have to bear that you may not notice, but I notice. And I think it's,
Dr.
and
Williams.
then when she raises her voice like that, and I haven't said a thing. Okay.
I understand that.
Bigotry, okay, maybe the word is bigotry,
Well,
and not
I
racism.
mean, my wife often notes that I don't pay attention appropriately to detail and notice things of nuance, and so I'm undoubtedly guilty of that, and there's probably no defense. But I do think that, we should certainly in areas like this give people the benefit of the doubt, and I apologize if I speak too much or too long. It's probably a bad habit I picked up across the street.
Well, it's not, you're just allowed to, but I'm not. That's my
Well,
point.
I'm sure it's something that we can all work on and do better on, and I'll try and shorten mine and to make more time available for others. So I do apologize for that, but I think it is. I think charges like that are almost designed to end debate and discussion as opposed to
No,
promote.
we're discussing it right now. I'm so glad you brought it up.
I'm not.
Because
I'm
we're
not as happy as I
discussing
thought I'd be about bringing
We
it up.
are discussing it, and I think that is one thing that we do not discuss. We do not discuss, how the other feels when,
Well, I mean,
when you are treated in this way.
as you know from
when-
yesterday, that
When you are given lowly things to do, I think it's, and there, I could just, in fact, I might even write it up.
Yeah, my only thought would be, that we're a professional board and we're representing the people of Colorado in the area of education. And I think being the chair is an extraordinarily difficult job. And, we've been on the board a number of years. We've seen different chairs come and go. Steve's been chair, there have been others. I think it's really hard because you're trying to deal with personalities, linguistic styles, how verbose people tend to be or less so. And I guess I just think we should probably err on the
Right.
side of deference and grace and encourage people that are willing to step up and do the leadership. Joyce and Angelica meet additional hours every month with the staff and spend countless hours trying to balance this thing. And I certainly empathize with what you're saying. None of us wants to be marginalized or,
And I
somehow
feel that way.
truncated in our remarks in
That's
any
right.
way. So, I mean,
It's
I
not
think-
just remarks,
Yeah.
but
So, I mean, I think the way you feel is understandable and certainly relevant, but I just think that we should probably deal with this on a human basis so that we all respect
We
each
are.
other, give each
We
other
are.
a chance to speak. And I just would like to say that I think the chair position and vice chair is really hard, and I think in general, we'd probably agree that they do a really good job of balancing all the pieces while still understanding, that you deserve respect and certainly a place at the table, and I think you have one. And all of us, we don't exactly speak the same number of moments or whatever, just because we have different styles.
right.
But I think that your
Well-
opinions are valid and relevant, and I think we respect that, and I like to encourage us to keep doing great professional work.
Yeah,
Right.
and Madam Chair, I do think, and I certainly, I mean, if anyone is guilty of occasional loss of good temperament, I'm quite confident that I'm more guilty than anyone else at this table.
Don't do that.
But, no, that's true, and I admit it, and I usually regret it, not always, sometimes it makes me feel better. But as a general rule, I regret it. And if I've in any way contributed to this feeling, I apologize to you.
No, I'm
and
glad you brought it up.
But I really don't believe that Dr. Schroeder intends it in that vein, and I certainly will work to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to make all the remarks they wish to make in a timely fashion, and I'll certainly make that commitment to you. So, at any rate, thank you, Madam Chair.